Hello guys, Gear Swapper here. This is one of these rare moments where I'm actually getting to work on my own vehicle for a change. Typically, I'm in this shop working on everybody else's stuff, swapping gears out, putting lockers in, rebuilding limited slips, swapping axles, slip yoke kits, whatever else we need to do to these Jeeps to get them trail ready. And like I said, this is a rare moment. I'm getting to work on my own. This is my Jeep behind me, 2004 Jeep WJ Grand Cherokee. It's got the V8 4.7 liter high output. It's got the 247 case. It's this Quadra Track 2, which is a full-time transfer case. Not a huge fan of a full-time four-wheel drive. Going to switch it over to a 242 HD, which is the Select Track version. Now, when you do that, make sure that if you've got a V8, that you get the 242 HD version for the V8, and make sure you pick up a drive shaft as well. The drive shafts are different. The outputs on the 247 case and the 242 case are different. Therefore, you need different drive shafts on them. I was able to look it up on carpark.com and got lucky. There's a junkyard here close by. They had the 242 HD case. It came out of a V8 Select Track Jeep and the drive shaft, and I even got the gate cover, the transfer case to show you 2 high, 4 high, 4 high part-time, neutral, 4 low. I've even got that as well, and I paid right at $300 for all of it. And there's nothing wrong with the 247 case in my Jeep now. I put a 6.5 inch lift on it the other day, and I'm just going to start wheeling this Jeep some. I would just rather have the 242, the Select Track case. So, little disclaimer: I'm not a full-time mechanic. I built this shop out here, and some people found out that I knew how to do gear work. Next thing, I found myself underneath people's Jeeps swapping gears out all the time. The last one I did, I was beating my head on the gas tank the whole time. If you've been under a TJ or an LJ working on the rear axle, you find yourself right in that little zone where you're bent over. And I said, screw it, went and bought a lift, put a lift in the shop, and once your buddies find out you got a lift, you'll never get to use it again because there'll be a long line out your door. People want to use your lift. So basically, the shop gets used for everybody else's stuff. So as I said, today I'm gonna do mine now. I'm gonna try to walk you through this, make it quick and painless, and I guess I could show you how to do this on the floor, but I'm going to use the lift. Sorry, but you can do this job on the floor as well. It's not a tough job. So at the end of this, if you have any questions, post them up. I'm sure there's people out there that are better at this than I am. If you see something you don't like or I need to work on, let me know. We'll make sure we get it right. We're underneath the Jeep, and I know you guys are probably cussing me because I have a lift, but I do a lot of gear work, and if you've done gear work without a lift, you know what I'm talking about. It's not a lot of fun. So yeah, you could do this on the ground, jack stands and a floor jack. You definitely could. It's just I have a lift, so I wasn't about to do it on the ground. But step one is pretty simple. Just get these drive shafts out of the way, take the rear out, and I went ahead and took the front out as well. And once you've done that, one thing that really helps is of course, I got the transmission Crossmember out. I took it completely out. There's a mount in here that you can actually, you don't have to take it all completely out, but I got to put a transfer case drop bracket here to I got a little bit of driveline vibe from this lift, so I got to put that in anyway. So I went ahead and removed that Crossmember completely, and to make this job a whole lot easier is lower this whole unit down as much as you can. Now granted, don't tear anything up front, but the lower you get it, the easier the bolts on top are. Once you do that, I came right in here. You got your linkage coming in to your selector here. This is really pretty easy to pop off. I just took a flathead screwdriver, put behind it, and it popped right out. Once you do that, 15mm bolts, there's 3 of them. If you can see it right here where my finger is, try to get up in here a little bit. Right there is where it would be at. There's another one right here, and then this one. So I removed the 3 bolts, and that drops this whole unit all the way down. You can kind of get it out of your way. After that, about the only thing left is to take out the actual nuts that are on the studs of the transfer case itself. There's 6 of them in total. 5 of them are a piece of cake to get to. Like right here's one. You got one up here on this top. Try to get up under this thing. You've got one Another one here. You've got one here. The one that's a little bit of a bear. If you can see my finger's on it. It's right here. And like I said, the lower you can get the transfer case to drop, the more room you'll have to work. You'll find that one can be quite a pain to get to. And what I use to break it loose with, and I'm not sponsored by Pittsburgh by any means. Anybody has a Harbor Freight nearby, but I actually picked up this flex head ratchet for, I think it's $25. That's one of the best purchases I think I've made. But I actually ran a deep well 14mm socket. Now, a 9/16 will fit it as well. A very short wobble extension, and then an actual universal joint. I hate universal joints. I hate using them. You guys that use them before know they're a little bit of a pain, but to get that broke loose, that's the setup I used. And as soon as I got it broke loose, I grabbed a stubby wrench, and I would have given anything if I'd had this in a stubby ratchet wrench. Would have saved me some time. And then for all the other bolts, basically I just used this 14mm gear wrench, and it didn't take but just a few minutes to get those knocked out. One thing I forgot to mention before I even get started, there's 2 drain plugs back here on the back, a fill plug and a drain plug, and go ahead and drain the fluid out of it before you can get started. The transfer cases sometimes can be a little bit of a pain to get to, but this is the first one I've done on the WJ, and it seems like there's more room under here than any of the other Jeeps I've worked on yet. Seems like it's a pretty straightforward deal. All right, I've got all 6 nuts off the studs sticking through the transfer case, so basically it's ready to come out, and I'm gonna pull it out and try not to kill myself. That's one good thing about them. The way they're studded, you can take the nuts off and not worry about it falling on top of you. And that's all it was to getting it out. Alright, there it is in the floor. And like I said, we're going to be putting the my junkyard component here. Hope it works. 242 HD, so we have some more options here. When you're switching from the full-time 247 case to the part-time 242 case, this bracket that's mounted up here said it takes the 315mm bolts. It's actually got 2 holes through it. One down here, one up top. The full-time 247 case uses the top hole. The part-time 242 case uses the bottom hole. So what you got to do is just switch this over, and it's not real hard. One thing I try to do is I just lubricate everything. I found that it's amazing how much just a little bit of spray just helps things go on and off, like especially with all these nuts and bolts. These Jeeps have been a little older. I'm in Virginia, and they like to treat our roads with all kinds of junk. Causes some rust, and you know how that is. Corrosion makes things harder. So I try to spray stuff down, but I mean, there's a million ways to take this off. I'm sure someone's got a better way than what I'm about to do, but these style clips aren't bad. I'm just going to take a pair of pliers. Almost got it right there. Pop this clip off. And once you pop that clip off, simply move that guy over to the bottom slot, and then slide this clip right back in. Make sure it's seated, and that'll be ready when I reinstall it. At least that'll be in the right spot. So next thing to do really is just, I've already looked inside up here to make sure this everything up here looks good. It's nice and clean. Don't see any damage, nothing to worry about. I'm gonna just wipe the face of it off, and the 242 case that I'm about to install. I'm gonna clean it, make sure it's good, and slide it in there. All right, you're looking at the 242 case over here and 247. Again, this is the part-time Select Track 242 case, the HD, and this is the full-time, full-wheel drive 247 case. It's kind of interesting to me how much beefier the front of the drive shaft is. The output shaft on the 242 case, if you look at the drive shaft it takes, it's a pretty heavy duty and pretty beefy on the end. If you compare it to the 247, it's a lot smaller diameter. But I didn't realize it was going to be a big of a difference. I expected that part to be kind of the same, but the length is different too. You guys can see from where you're at or not, but it's several inches difference. So something else kind of interesting, and I've read online some of the forums talking about there's a fuel mileage increase when you go to the 242. And that kind of sounds obvious because you're driving two wheels instead of four, but if I hold this yoke and just spin this one, it's all I can do to turn it. It's so hard to turn, and it'll turn pretty good, but it definitely takes some effort. Whereas the part-time case, I mean, you almost feel like you could turn it. Actually, you kind of turn it, it'll keep spinning. The amount of resistance difference, the way this case is set up for the full-time part, it should reduce drag quite a bit and hopefully improve the miles per gallon. If you're a Jeep owner, you know that's a struggle all the time. I've had a bunch of 4-liter Jeeps and none of them have gotten very good gas mileage. I got a V8 one. Honestly, it's not much different than 4 liters. So. The one thing I forgot to mention earlier when I was taking it off is the vent tube. And just so I wouldn't lose it, this was the vent tube that was on my Jeep. So when I first started to tear down, I just popped it off, and like I said, so I wouldn't lose it, I just stuck it up here on the boat. I'm gonna try to pick this thing up and put it in. This is a part in my life I wish I had a helper out here. Yeah, just pick it up, and this is the drawback to the lift. I put the Jeep up so high, now I gotta pick this heavy guy up over my head and try to align it. It's not the heaviest thing in the world, but it is fairly awkward. Figures, I don't think the splines are lined up. Whew. All right, so see, it can be done by yourself. Like I said, it would be a lot easier to have somebody else. It can definitely be done. So. All right, so now it's pretty cut and dry from here. Just go put the 6 nuts back on, torque those down. Put my bracket back on. The 315 millimeters, do it last. Not last, but after you get the bolts in. And the reason why is you've got a bolt that sits. You got a bolt that sits right here that the bracket actually kind of covers it up. So, like I said, get all your nuts in first, then mount this bracket back up. And mount your shift cable back on that end right there. Install your drive shafts. Get your Crossmember back in it, and then most importantly, don't forget to put some ATF4 in it, or it's not going to make it very far. Like I said, the bolts, all of them are really easy to deal with except one, and it's not too bad if you got the right tool. Unfortunately, I've had the chance to buy some of the short stubby gear wrenches, and I never did buy them, but right now is the time that if I had a 9/16 gear wrench this length, I would have already been done. But I put a little lubrication on this top bolt just to make sure that it went in there. What I didn't tell you when the one that came out was a bare all the way out. I sprayed it, but it I had to fight it the whole way out. But it's just a standard 9/16 14mm gear wrench. You'll find that you can get these bolts in and out pretty quick. It's just this one up here on top, somewhat time consuming. But like I said, the key to this is lowering this whole unit down. When it's all the way up, it's up here pretty close. It's a lot harder to get this top bolt. I was talking to a guy who had an XJ. I put a slip-up kit in it for him, and he put the transfer case back in. He was fussing. It was a pain to get it out. And he was talking about this one bolt that I'm working on right now. So I asked him when he put it back how much trouble he had putting that bolt back in. He just told me he left it out. By no means would I ever recommend that. I figure the engineers, they screw a lot of stuff up. When they put another bolt there, it's better off going to tighten it back up. But he's still running it minus a bolt, and it's held together so far. Like I said, stubby gear wrench would have really helped this process out. I'm not going to bore you while I sit there and finish tightening that bolt up. But once I get that in, I'll throw this crossmember in and hopefully have this thing close again. All right, I'm back on the reassembly here. You guys get a little extra bang for your buck. If you're curious of how the Iron Rock off-road transfer case drop brackets work, basically they're these aluminum plates they made that are black, kind of blend in a little bit, but they just sit on top of your factory crossmember, and it gives you a 1-inch drop. I'm not a big fan of dropping the transfer case, but I just installed this lift, and unfortunately I got just a slight vibration, not bad, just a slight. Now, I hate vibrations worse than I hate my transfer case being a fraction lower. If you look at any of these WJs that are lifted, you'll find that they're pretty good underneath. Everything is up pretty high already, so dropping an inch really doesn't stress me out that much. And if you do find yourself putting these gears, they send you the bolts. Now I don't have them. I bought this stuff used from somebody else, so I didn't get the bolts. But these are your factory ones. You get too long and too short for each end. And what Iron Rock has you do is take the long ones and move to where the short ones were, and then I'll have to go buy 2 more bolts that are 1 inch longer than these. So I'm gonna put the transmission mount back on the crossmember. I'm gonna raise the transmission up and then try to get these crossmember with these drop brackets or drop blocks in place. Finish this guy up. Bear with me. I know it's dark under here, and I'm hoping that there's not the light off my super cheap light here to help the filming process out a little bit. I don't really trust that jack. It's about to the limit. So they're scared it's going to give up on me. Bring in some reinforcements here. Which figures everything out of the way. There's Murphy's Law taking effect here. Put the crossmember in a great spot. Should be plenty. Might actually have it a little higher than needed. Thing's probably right in the way. Now you get to look at the back of my head even more. You can't really mess this mount up. It can only go one way. It does have 2 short bolts and 2 long bolts. So long bolts go to the rear. Short bolts go to the front. try not to use air tools and cheat, but it does make it easier. Check those by hand. I don't ever trust air tools. Always afraid you're gonna leave me on the wrong torque. Oh, that's feel good. Like I said, trying to get these get this cross member back in. Being kind of fun to put in, by the way. Use a gun, kind of speed it up a little bit. I'm not tightening down, I'm just running them off. Get it up in there a little bit. Like I said, I'm two bolts shy, so I'm gonna have to actually go out and find some bolts. And if you ever find yourself working on these, if I remember right, they're metric 10 by 1.5s. Snug those down so I can actually get the transmission bolted in. And you see, you kind of see these things look like they got like copper on them, and that's, if anybody's wondering, that's just copper anti-seize. I just had these off the other day when we put the long arm brackets under here. And I'm feeling like I'm taking them back off again. Hey guys, just a quick recap, finishing this thing up, pretty much done with it, and I went inside and got this video ready to post up on the internet, and I'm on the Jeep forum pretty often. If you got any questions, you're not on the Jeep forum, it's a great resource for you for information. I feel kind of stupid right now. I put this little video together, and then I was surfing the WJ forum actually a while ago, and stumbled across the 242, 247 swap. And there's a great article. Hope you don't mind me throwing your name out here. It's Nierace, N-I-E-R-A-C-E, posted it up. If you'll go to the Jeep forum, look under the WJ section, and just type in transfer case swap. It'll probably come up for you. He does a great job. He put something similar together what I have here, but it's actually the steel shop forum. So it might be easier for you if you're doing this and you want some still pictures of basically what I did. He did things just a touch differently. Like I said, I removed that entire cross member, but it was easier for me just to get out of the way because I had to put the drop bracket on it anyway. But great resource to go there, and I was going to recap, just give you a quick rundown again of what all you need to do. Like I said, it's really simple. You get the fluid out of it, and doing that, make sure you put 2 quarts of ATF4 back in it when you're done. It sucked to go all this work, get to put fluid back in it. Many people do that. But drop your drive shafts out, unplug whatever's plugged in on yours. Mine was real simple, just a vent tube was about it. Get your stuff unplugged, unbolt the 6 bolts out of it, and pretty much ready to slide on out. So if you have any questions, you can hit me up on the Jeep forum. It might be the quickest way if something pops up on this and you're stuck, or you run into an issue, or you run an issue with any of your axle gear stuff. You know, hit me up. Gear Swapper is my name on the Jeep forum. And thanks for watching.